And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bubba and the Bloom, episode 207, continuing our positional previews for the 2025 fantasy baseball season. Outfield Part 2, ADP 31 through 60 here. As we get rolling here, we'll have Part 3 coming at you next week as well. But before we get into that, you can follow me on Twitter at BDNtrick, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod, and on Patreon at patreon.com/Bubba Bloom. And as always, my co-host on Twitter at RyanBHQ. Ryan Bloomfield, how we doing, my friend?
Part due. What language is that? That's not two. It's not dos. It's not duh.
It's French, right?
No, that's duh. Deux.
Duh.
As a 5-year taker of French Honor Society.
Good Lord.
I actually was in the French Honor Society my senior year in high school, and then I got kicked out because I never went. But I got to put on my college resume, so that was the plan all along.
That's beautiful. It worked excellent for you then, because I'm trying to think. 5 years in French, Excel mastermind. Yeah, it's all checking out now. It's all checking.
5 years of French, and I still call Calvin Fauché Dr. Foucher on the show.
There you go. So there you go.
That's where that got me.
Yeah, it works very well. Very, very well. But that's good. It's good. How's everything else going? Good?
Yeah, pretty good. Today was one of those just get through it days. I had my oldest was vomiting overnight, so he was home today.
Lord, not good.
I put it, hoping no one's eating while they listen to this podcast. I was cleaned it up overnight because and I put it in a little bag, and then this morning my dog ate my kid's vomit, and
That's
then
what they do. Yeah.
And then my dog vomited. So there's
lovely.
it's just one of those days, bodily fluids everywhere.
Yep, that's a shame. At least it's not like a CSI scene, so you're all good there.
No.
That would have been a lot worse, all things considered. Yes. But rocking there, that's good. Yes, got Burks in the chat, learned something new about every day about Ryan, so that's good.
Right, the Frenchman.
Yeah, I did not know that either, Burksy, so we're all learning here on the show. All right. Last bit of news. We're going to do it one more time because literally this is it, folks.
This is it. Deadline.
Yep. Listener leagues, 15-team auctions, $50. Final day to sign up is Friday, January 24th. Though the day you might be listening to this show, it's either the last day or you're too late, but you've been warned many times before. So get them in, email us, DM us, sign up for the Patreon because that's how you got to get in anyways, whatever it takes. But Friday, January 24th is the last day, so Ryan and I can start sending out emails, start lining out the drafts, get with the NFPC, and get this thing rocking and rolling. So make that happen. But we're essentially at 8 leagues at the moment. So life is good there.
Yeah, a slew of new signups today, so that's good. Yeah, the general plan for this, because a lot of people have asked actually. We're gonna kind of shut down signups, requests, whatever on the 24th. We're gonna figure out how many leagues we're actually gonna do at the NFPC. It looks like 8. Maybe we'll try and squeeze an extra one in there for the silent minority that hasn't reached out yet, but inevitably will. And then I will send out a survey sometime during the last week of January, like a Google survey to you. Yeah, so next week, so that you can request. If we have 9 leagues, 8 leagues, we'll list out all the times you can. The survey will be which times work for you, and then we will get it all sorted out and hopefully have everyone in their leagues. I don't know, first week of February, something like that. We will also be having a listener league reveal on the Patreon. I'm very much looking forward to that as well. So that'll be fun. We'll list out all the leagues and do that. So It's all happening quick. It'll be fun. And tomorrow, let us know if you want to.
And as a reminder, besides the monetary prizes for your leagues, the second place person in each league gets a 2026 Baseball HQ Draft Prep subscription, which gives you full site access from mid-January through April. Each league winner gets a 2026 full year subscription to Baseball HQ. And the overall prize, whoever dominates total over all 8, 9 leagues, however many we finish with, it's free registration to FPAS First Pitch Arizona 2025. So go check all of that out. Travel lodging not included. Also, I just mentioned the draft prep subscription for 2026 if you finish second in your league. Well, if you want to try out 2025 to see if you like it, if you want to try out the site to see if you like what Baseball HQ has to offer, you can get the 2025 draft prep subscription with $10 off with promo code Bubba Bloom, BUBBA BLOOM, Bubba Bloom. Bloomfield just dropped his first speculator of the year a couple days ago. I'm dropping my first PT tomorrow, my second technically PT tomorrow, Sunday night. So there's facts and flukes rolling out there. It's basically up and running. Plus you got projections and so much more. So anything else you'd like to add to that, Mr. Ryan?
Our own Trevor Hoffman of the Baseball HQ staff, Doug Dennis, reliever expert. He put out an article on Thursday, early ADP for relievers and NFBC draft champions, and basically ran through the entire relief pitcher pool for draft and holds, and it was freaking awesome. So just the latest in a long line of good content over at Baseball HQ. But yeah, if you're interested, Bubba Bloom, promo code baseballhq.com/subscribe will get you there. It'll be $35 for full access through April. So it's I think it's a hell of a deal.
Yep, definitely is. And one more announcement that I have that Ryan's not aware of.
Surprise. What is this?
On Thursday, January 23rd, the Eagle has landed.
Oh, there it is.
The baseball forecaster has made it to my parts in California. So it took a lot of work to get here, but January 23rd, the Eagle has landed. We are live, folks.
Man, in a medium that you can actually enjoy and consume.
Yep.
Man,
It's my old version.
Did you smell the pages? That's what I always.
It's still like saw, like knives and like not folded up, and
it smells so good.
It does.
Good.
Yeah.
I got to screenshot that one. Bubba just
talking about puking up, sniffing books like a Market Street somewhere. All right. Enough of that. Let's have some fun here. Let's get it in. Let's talk Outfield Part 2.
That was better. Part 2.
I'm trying. I'm really trying. It's been a long day over here too, so I'm trying. Yeah. We're going ADPs 31 through 60. We talked about the first round, all pretty good. What do you have for us on this board, Ryan?
So it's same type of board as last time. It's just 31 through 60. The color coding, not as much green, right? Because outfielders 1 through 30 were pretty strong overall as a group. To me, with 31 through 60, and this is ADP 135 through 250, more or less. So kind of those, basically ADP 150 to 250. It's funny. We had a Discord question from Lucas Beery come in. He was asking about Anthony Santander, and was like, I need power. And I was like, okay, yeah, I think that makes sense because I used this board, and after Santander, who was like outfield, I don't know, 28, we covered him on the last show. It was there is no outfielder outside of Mike Trout projected to hit 30 home runs in this entire cohort of outfield 31 through 60, and take Mike Trout with the obvious injury fueled grain of salt that he comes with. Adolis Garcia is the only one, and Jorge Soler a little bit later on. They're projected at 28 by Steamer. So your premier power sources are pretty much gone at this point. You can pick and choose your spots for steals. There are a number of guys, just looking, maybe 7 or 8 guys projected for 20 plus stolen bases. And towards the end of this group, and I alluded to this on our last show, kind of looking at outfield as a whole, kind of that outfield 55-60 group, it does start to really fall apart. So still some places to pick and choose, kind of your outfield 3 or 4 here. But I feel like next week's show is going to be finding some needles in a haystack at outfield.
Yeah, and this is why when people say, why do you take outfielders early? Like we talk about outfield and shortstop, wanting to kind of get there, maybe other positions, of course. But when you look at this board, you mentioned the power. Like, yeah, most guys are still getting you 15 to 20-ish, 25 homers, which is good. So you're getting that, which other positions aren't getting you when you drop past 200. That's a plus. You still have a lot of steals here. A lot of guys getting 20-plus steals. So that's a plus if you're looking for that. So it's a lot of like still really like decent 3-category guys more often than not. You're going to get that, maybe an occasional 4, which at other positions you're not getting at this point in the draft. Thus, get a couple of elites, maybe sprinkle, like you mentioned last week, maybe get your top 2 here, then 3 and 4 here, so on and so forth. Sprinkle them in and out. But there are a few minefields, and we'll talk about that. And it's like a lot of what ifs in this range. There's some young guys. There's a lot of platooning begins as you get going deeper into this, which makes things a little more questionable, but it's also something we might need to just accept in this era of baseball. That's just the way it is. You maybe just maximize the best at bats, not all the at bats, is what we have to try to do. That's an angle to two things as well. But that's kind of when I'm looking at it. I see there's still a lot to like. Like there's even some batting average assets in the back half of this board that kind of surprised me, because there is no batting average in pretty much almost every position after pick 200. Like that just does not exist. So to get a couple of guys that do have some potential here, that's nice as well. So this is where the outfield can be utilized to kind of fill holes, is what I'm trying to get at. I guess long-winded way of saying it. Fill some team needs as you're getting deeper into the draft. So something to think about as well.
There's also not, and then we'll get into the individual players or whatever. There's not too many like zeros at stolen base in this group as well. You can get pretty easily a 6 to 10 stolen base type guy. There's kind of that like generic profile of a 250-ish batting average, 20 to 25 home runs, and 6 to 10 steals. There's a lot of those types of guys, especially kind of veterans. Your Nick Castellanos, your Taylor Ward. Elliot Ramos isn't a veteran, but Elliot Ramos fits that. Colton Cowser fits that as well. So I think there's some good balance here. If you don't get a 20+ stolen base guy, you can still kind of patch things together with single digit stolen base totals as well. So that's kind of there's a lot of that type of guy that we'll talk through tonight too.
Yep, totally agree. So let's kick it off. The 31st outfielder off of the board, ADP of 135, is Ian Happ. It's a guy that I think we talk about every previous season. It's like, for a while there, was it going to be power or average? Power or average? Last couple of years, it's been power. That's what he's gone with. 25 home runs last year, 13 steals while hitting 243. Year before, 21 homers, 14 steals, 248. So it at least feels like you can kind of have a sense of who Ian Happ wants to be, which makes it easier to kind of know what you're drafting, I guess, because we never knew what we were trying to go for. And again, this profile is fine, but if you just look at the projections, Ryan, there's a lot of that kind of projection scattered around this next 15 to 20 picks. It feels like I still like Ian Happ a lot, but there are some. I don't know. I'm not as in love with him as I once was in previous seasons.
Yeah, I feel like Ian Happ is more attracted to me in deeper leagues. Like in a 15-teamer, I'm more attracted there because the floor is so good. I don't think there's much ceiling here, especially when you compare him to like going right after him is like a Dylan Cruz. We'll talk about Jasson Dominguez. It's a high floor, low ceiling play. It's also, so I just talked about that kind of generic type of player that's available in outfield with this group, that 245, 250 hitter, 20 to 25 home runs. Ian Happ is like and some stolen bases. Ian Happ is like the most expensive of that version of player that's available here. So I feel like you can get a similar type of Ian Happ a little bit later. Maybe not as many steals, but I don't know. Ian Happ's fine. Ian Happ is fine. He's a good building block. 640 plus plate appearances in each of the last 3 seasons. If you have a good batting average cushion, it helps even more because Ian Happ is pretty well rounded and again just plays all the time. So more likely to take him in my 15 teamers than my 12s though, just because I don't think the ceiling is all that high. We kind of know who he is.
Look at you starting to break down which
hey,
format
man,
has been a player. Look who's ready for Monday night, everybody.
I'm a new man. Yeah, I guess we didn't throw that out at the top. I'm doing my first. I haven't done an online championship in like probably 7-8 years, which is the NFBC's 12-team format. So there's the folks at the NFBC were kind enough to give you and me a beat. Bubba beat the Bloom League. You did yours last Monday. Mine is on Monday night. I will also be streaming it with Ben Tidd for Patreon folks only. So that'll be Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. So yes, I have 12 teamers on my mind here, my friend.
This is glorious. It's a beautiful, beautiful day in Bubba and the Bloom land for many reasons. There's other stuff that we're going to let out the bag here in a couple of weeks, which is pretty exciting, but that is one of them for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Dylan Cruz, you just mentioned that we're going to talk about him shortly. He goes 4 picks after Ian Happ at ADP 139, 32nd outfielder off the board. And he's a guy that had a ton of hype coming through the minors at AAA or at AA and AAA last year combined. And again, I love how Fangraphs finally combines these for you. I used to have to go to Baseball Reference to do this for me because I was so annoyed by it, but Fangraphs does it now. 13 homers, 25 steals, hit 270 across 2 levels at over 100 games. In the bigs, over 31 games, 3 homers, 12 steals, hit 218. Had a little bit of a learning curve, it felt like, for Dylan Cruz. What's your thought, though? Because the skills, the talent we know is very good. And again, we've talked about how good this Washington team appears to be on paper. Are you willing to take that chance at ADP 139 on Dylan Cruz?
I'm willing to. Yeah, because the price, and I'm going to kind of compare this to the Wyatt Langford, James Wood kind of group we talked about last show that are much more expensive. Like Dylan Cruz is going at a price where I'm much more willing to kind of take those shots and go for what might be a lower floor, but who knows the ceiling. I think for Dylan Cruz, the stolen base floor and the playing time floor are pretty damn solid. Like I think Washington's going to play him and maybe even hit him near the top of the lineup. And we all know Washington loves to run. I think Dylan Cruz from a stolen base standpoint, like I would take the over on 25 stolen bases. I just don't know if the batting average and home runs, like the power history for Cruz has been okay. I agree with Steamer. I don't think he gets to 20 home runs. And then the 246 projection is also kind of tough too, because there's some floor to that as he continue to adjust to Major League pitching. But I'm willing to take a shot around 140 on someone like Dylan Cruz. I think he could steal like 40 bags.
So the one thing I with Cruz, and I think he could be really good. I'm not saying he's not. I feel like he's maybe a year away, but I could be wrong as well because you don't know. He just feels a lot like Victor Robles is going at 184. Cruz might have a little more pop. I'll give him that. But the speed, the average, the overall stat line, there's a lot of some, like there's one time when Victor Robles hit 15 or 17 home runs, or like there's a lot of that feel with those two.
Yep. That's pretty good count. I never thought of that. But I think Cruz has a little more pop. It's not saying much, having a little more pop than Victor Robles, but no, that makes sense. And Robles is quite a bit cheaper.
40 picks later, 45 picks later. So here's something to think about. That to me, it gets more important to think of other similar players as we get deeper in the draft, like so you can go and attack the other positions that are getting weak. That's just something I try to do.
I mean, and Robles could very well out hit Cruz batting average, like very, very easily too. So I could see it.
Something to think about. All right, Stephen Kwan coming in with an ADP of 142. Kwan hit 292 last year, 14 home runs out of nowhere, 12 steals. He had a bunch of injuries that kind of hampered the on the base situation. Played 122 games due to injuries as well. So we saw this power just explode. We saw the stolen bases decline, again, likely due to injury. And we saw his batting average just continue to be a batting average machine. That's just what Stephen Kwan does. So are you willing to get in on this profile, though, with like, do we believe in the power is one question. Do we want a guy that doesn't have a lot of power and hopefully run? Like, there's a lot of questions with Stephen Kwan. I love the real-life baseball, amazing talent. Fantasy, there's some hiccups, but I understand if you like him type thing.
I think it depends what you do in the early rounds. I think if you need batting average, Stephen Kwan is not. He's a definite step up from, like, for me, a Luis Arias who does pretty much nothing in homers and stolen bases. Like I think the 14 homers, 19 steals that Steamer is projecting for Kwan is pretty spot on. Like I think the stolen base total, just 12 bags last year, was hampered by the hamstring injury. Like I do think he just did not run as often or as effectively, especially till the end of the season. So I think Kwan, if you need batting average, if you need steals, I think it's fine. I took Kwan in our current 50, 12th round. So that kind of tells you I needed steals because I started with Yordan Alvarez, Gunnar, and Machado, and then Teoscar and Will Smith after that. So I needed steals, but I didn't want to sacrifice batting average. And so in terms of that, like that was a good fit. But I think Kwan's a fine pick. You just know you're not going to get much power and plan for that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I'm not counting on him to get. I'm thinking he's more like a 10 home run guy, and you just roll with the rest. Like, but elite batting average skills, like he's way better than Luis Arias. To me, he's going to give you a lot more of the other stuff. So, he's a fine player. It's built, like you said, built accordingly.
Yep.
All right, here we are. Every year, it just seems to fall back a little more and a little more and a little more. And the legend, one of the best players ever, Mike Trout, is down to ADP 143 now. Trout played 29 games last year, 10 home runs, 6 steals, 220. I guess it's sad for now I feel like we were spoiled, Ryan, for so long with Mike Trout's greatness. Supposedly, again, we say this every offseason, supposedly he's healthy. Got that going for him. I haven't been able to click the button, and I've done a lot of drafts, Ryan.
So for Trout, like, it's just so easy to say, oh, it depends on the health. But let me at least like put some numbers on that. So on my little projection sheet here, Mike Trout, if I adjust and it combines Steamer and Baseball HQ for now, until the damn bat comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Just out of the box, Mike Trout, 525 plate appearance, projection, 50th overall hitter, and ADP is 65 overall hitter. So he's actually, projections say he's a value where he's going. If I take that same plate appearance total, I knock him down to like 490, that's the break-even point at this price. So I think your question is, do you think Mike Trout is going to have 490, 500 plate appearances? I don't think so. So I'm probably not taking Trout, but that's the kind of math you have to do. And maybe it's a little less than like 490 because you do need to build in like who you would replace. And so here it comes again in a 12-teamer with better replacement level. It does make a little more sense to take a Trout, but I don't know, man. I hope I'm damn wrong, but I don't even know if he gets 400 plate appearances. Like, he just hasn't been able to do it. And he had 499 in 2022. Outside of that, 146, 362, 126 in the last 3 full seasons. Like, that's brutal.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like literally one of the best players we ever got to watch, as he did it all. Basically, he was compared to Mickey Mantle and so many others, and I can't draft him anymore because he just hasn't proven it. I hope I'm wrong every year on him, and I have not been in a long time. That's the crappy part. But yeah, I'm not doing it either. I'm with you. It's just doesn't pencil out with these other picks going around him. Like Adolis Garcia is the 5th outfielder off the board here at ADP 35, or 35th outfielder, ADP 151. Adolis had a down season last year. Still hit 25 homers, still 11 bags, which was good, but only hit 224. Counting stats are down quite a bit as well. Still played 154 games, Ryan. So that was a massive plus when it comes to Adolis. And usually he's getting drafted around a Rosarena. They're like usually peas in a pod. They're the Eugenio Chapmans of the outfield. But this year it's a bit different with Adolis. You get a little bit of a discount, and you can maybe buy back on a really good Rangers team. So the more this draft season has gone on, I've been more intrigued of taking a gamble on a guy like Adolis. I think I actually might have taken him in our 50. I think about it.
You took him in our 50 in the 13th round.
So yeah, I'm starting to be more inclined to give that a whirl. So what's your thoughts on Adolis? Because I don't think he's done just yet.
No, I'm with you, man. And so that is the risk, is that like just yet thing. Like, this could be, I think it's age 32 season for Adolis. So there is that risk that this just continues to kind of go down. But it's funny. I feel like the narrative around Adolis is last year was a down season. And yes, it was for his standards. But if I look at the Razzball player rater, which is 5x5, just how they finished last year, Adolis Garcia finished 119 overall in the Razzball player rater, and he's going at 151. So it's like Adolis Garcia could have the same exact down season again and still outproduce his ADP. So, like, to me, that makes this, I don't want to say like a no-brainer pick, but I think it's an awesome value. And like you said, with Randy Rosarena and Adolis Garcia were those kind of 2 peas in a pod for years. Randy Rosarena is going quite earlier, and Adolis Garcia is not. I mean, Garcia won't steal as many bags as a Rosarena will, but like, just that sheer fact that if all Adolis Garcia has to do is repeat last year's down season and he beats this ADP, like I think the market's off on Adolis Garcia. He's going too cheap.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, he has, the average is down, but he still had the power, still had the speed on a down season. Like, this is a buy for me. Just the same reason, like a Rosarena still went 2020s. We're like, oh, he can, this, that, or the other. Why are we out on Adolis? I don't know, but I'll take that chance all day long. Jasson Dominguez is the 36th outfielder out the board, ADP of 159. This is a fun one because he's projected for an 18-18 season. When Steamer first came out, he was projected for 2020. So that has backed off a little bit, which is interesting, but oopsie has him at 22 and 28. So do what you wish with that. But the Martian didn't have much more to prove at the minor league level. 11 homers, 15 steals in 58 games while hitting 314. Kind of, we had a couple of really cool games in the bigs, then kind of didn't play / scuffled. I love Jasson Dominguez. I think this is a phenomenal, like, I'll take him over probably James Wood some of those guys going, or like I still like my
Yeah.
Langfords and those guys, but I'll take the gamble on Jasson Dominguez and at 159 all day.
Would you spec on Jasson Dominguez? I assume the answer is yes over Dylan Cruz, 20 picks
Yes,
earlier.
yes.
Yeah, I would too. I think I mean, with Soto in New York last year, like Dominguez was just kind of jerked around, and it was just I don't think that's going to happen again this year. I think Jasson Dominguez is locked into that starting lineup, and you just look at those projections, which Steamer's like pretty a lot of times kind of down on the type of player that Dominguez is. Those, not rookies, but guys without much major league experience, especially someone like Dominguez. We haven't really seen too much. I think he can go 2020, decent batting average, great lineup, obviously great park. So Jasson Dominguez, I think out of any like young hitter right now, I think is in that sweet spot of ceiling, but also speculative worthy price at 159 that I like the most. I also like Jasson Dominguez over Dylan Cruz and going 20 picks later.
It's really interesting to me because it feels like if the hype on him was so high last year, if this time last draft season, if we knew he had a starting gig like he does right now, I feel like 159 would not even be in the question. It'd be like, top 75, like wherever Langford was. And somehow having him down at 159 because we saw some scuffling, like you said, yo-yoed around, really never got to get comfortable. He falls to 159, and maybe I'm just trying to be over-optimistic here, but this seems like one of those ADPs, and there's always a handful of them. This one just doesn't make sense to me compared to some other ones. I expect it to be much closer to the 100s area, basically. So,
and that's what you want as a drafter, because Dominguez is getting kind of knocked. It was 67 plate appearances in the majors last year. Like, well, I mean, that is nothing.
It was like over like 2 stints. It wasn't even like a full run.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let him play. Let him hit in the bottom of the order. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either.
Just let him get in his groove and do his thing. And I think Jasson Dominguez, of course, there's always risk. It just doesn't work out in the majors. We haven't seen him have any success in the majors yet, but all signs indicate that this is going to be a pretty damn good player with pretty good power speed.
Yep, 100% with you on that. All right, Josh Lowe, ADP of 164. Last year, I was very optimistic after coming off an injury. Still got 10 homers, 25 steals, hit 241. It wasn't like a complete loss, but when it comes to Josh Lowe, it's always a playing time. He had 20 homers, 32 steals, 292 the year before when he got to play more regularly. Reports now, heading into 2025, is there's a lot less platooning options in Tampa Bay right now. And Josh Lowe should be one of the guys kind of out of that platoon situation. A lot can change, so I'll believe Tampa Bay when I see it type thing. But new ballpark, friendlier ballpark to hit in, potentially more regular playing time. It's hard to pass on Josh Lowe as we slowly start getting into more and more platoon players. Like he's if you pocket the platoon guys, he's too high. But it's one of those, again, if he plays 140 plus games, this is a great price tag to me. It's a really tough spot for my thoughts on Josh Lowe.
I like Josh. I like the talent of Josh Lowe. He covered the park. That's especially for lefties. Like that is going to be a major upgrade. Even if we take Tampa at their word and they give him a shot against lefties, it's a career 533 OPS against lefties for Josh Lowe and 289 career plate appearances. Like that is terrible. You don't even want, even if Josh Lowe's playing against lefties, I don't think you want him in your lineup. Your fantasy lineup when he is playing lefties. So I think this is still a platoon bat. I think he should be treated as a platoon bat. And I don't think we're to the point yet in the outfield pool. We'll get to a lot of these names as we go through this show tonight. I don't think we're in platoonville yet. I think this is still too early to start taking platoon outfielders. And then on top of that, you factor on that I haven't even talked about yet, the injury risk, the oblique and all that stuff. That Josh Lowe has been going through. I'm not touching him at 164. I think he's a little too pricey.
Yeah, we'll see. Because like I said, the platoon situation, they really don't have anybody right now. That's the only thing.
I mean, agreed, but like he still sucks against lefties. Yeah. So like if you're in a weekly league and they play two lefties out of three or something, you're not starting Josh Lowe.
I'll ask you this, and I do not have the answer in front of me, but like, has he had a fair shot to hit lefties? To say he can't hit lefties?
289 career plate appearances. So I mean that's That's a full
okay.
season's worth
Yeah.
against lefties. I mean, it's not, it's not the end all be all for sure. There's a chance he could grow against him, but it hasn't been like, I don't think this is totally a case of the Rays just haven't let him. It's almost 300 career plate appearances.
Okay. All right.
So I don't know.
We'll see. I'm with you. I love the skills. It feels like if he gets regular run, this is a very fair price. But yeah, there's always concerns with Josh Lowe. Colton Cowser, ADP of 169. Looked like he had the Rookie of the Year in hand last year, and then did not happen. 24 homers, 9 steals, hit 242. Still a very good rookie campaign. Don't get me wrong, but definitely slowed down from a milking the cows in the stands red hot start. So, yeah, Colton Cowser, what's your thoughts there? Because I just pass on him pretty much every draft for other players that we will talk about later.
You remember that when I like wasn't aware of the cow thing, and you were like, he reminds me of an animal. I'm like, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah, I'd like try to like spell it out to you like you're 2.
Yeah, I was a little slow on the.
Remember, 5 years of French, guys. 5 years of French.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't really make me smart automatically, but
I don't throw shade at Napoleon and company. It's okay.
It makes me worldly, well seasoned.
Yeah, scholar here.
Oh God. No, I'm with you on Cowser. I think there's some pretty big batting average risk here. There's some pretty major holes in his swing. I like the power, I like the speed. I just think there's kind of famously now you and James Anderson were talking about, or really James brought it up, the Elliot Ramos Colton Cowser comp, where they're kind of the same guy, and Elliot Ramos is going 50 picks later, whatever. In the chat here in our Discord, Michael Cicchini wrote a really good Substack article kind of diving deeper into that. I think before that comp was made on the show. Debatable, but I'm just kidding. I agree. I think Colton Cowser is one of the more expensive, like generic type of outfielders that give you decent power, okay batting average, and some bags. Like I'd rather take Taylor Ward later. I'd rather take Elliot Ramos later. I'd rather take probably Lourdes Gurriel later at the price, knowing that Cowser, there is the potential. He's young. There is the potential for a next step. And I don't think he platoons, but I don't know. I like better options that are going cheaper.
No, totally fair. Totally fair on that. I have
you don't like Lourdes anymore, do you? You squirmed.
I do, but I don't know if there's a ceiling there anymore.
Yeah.
Like he's like almost like the Brian Reynolds of this previous show. Like he's good. Yeah, he's a good average. I just don't know. Like as he gets older, does he run even like less? Like I do like Lourdes. I just would like him to be cheaper or at least be in a 15.
Yeah.
Like there's no ceiling that I see there with him.
Fair enough.
Right. Lane Thomas, ADP of 173, and talk about a season last year from Lane Thomas. Still finished with 15 homers, 32 steals, 237 average. If you didn't know any better, you're like, okay, not bad. I can live with that. It was down from 2023. He was crushing it in Washington, goes to Cleveland, forgot how to hit any semblance of a right-handed pitcher. Just could not hit them at all. It was horrific. And so much that he got platooned. Was sitting versus righties. A lot of people are buying back in like, oh, it's just one thing. He's fine. Could be. I'm seriously concerned that they sat him and that he couldn't hit them and he has to work his way back. So I've avoided Lane Thomas. This could be to a detriment of mine because if he figures it out, that's another guy, another 2020 guy going here at 173.
Yeah, and that's another guy. So despite, and everything you said is completely valid, on track, yada, yada. Despite all that, Lane Thomas still had 15 homers and 32 stolen bases last year. Like that's not bad. And really, first half, second half, it was even. It was 8 to 7 home runs, and it was 17 to 15 stolen bases. I feel like he must have like rebounded in September, didn't he?
Towards the very end, then he had a very good postseason. Which
I know was it off of Scooble? He had the famous
yes
home run
around the world.
Yeah, that was
Before
wild. Had seven home runs in September, hit 264. So there was some salvaging of that season after Lane Thomas was cut on his fantasy teams. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what to do with Lane Thomas. I think 2023 is certainly an outlier. 2023 was a 268 batting average, 28 homers, 20 steals. I think the most likely thing to stick there is the steals. I think he could stay in the mid-20s, but yeah, I worry. I worry about the right-handed pitching thing. I mean, obviously, that's the majority of guys he's going to face, and if it continues to get worse, we're going to start to see playing time dwindle if he struggles more against right-handed pitching. So that is definitely a concern, probably enough for me to where I'm passing on Thomas, because there are better playing time floors going right around him.
All right. Nikki Anderson in the chat here says Big Christmas is lurking if Lane Thomas struggles again. Like, I would love to see regular at-bats for Big Christmas. I'll tell you that much. All right. The 40th outfielder off the board at ADP 176, the one, the only Thomas Edman. And he's already bumped up a ton since we talked about him at FPAS. So that is he's on the move because he signed a deal and he's locked in and going to play center field, might move back to the infield with all the moves the Dodgers have made. Heck, he might pitch the 4th inning because they'll need him. Who knows? Coming off 6 homers, 6 stolen bases.
You're still not bitter or anything, are you?
No, not at all. Played 37 games last year because we played the game every week. Is Tommy Edman alive? Alive or dead? So that was fun. We found out eventually he was alive and played well. I love Tommy Edman. The 13 home run projection to me is kind of low, honestly. I know he's only ever had 13 in his career, but like what we saw last year, I feel like being in a lineup like LA is going to get him more pitches to hit because of the guys going around him, which could be a plus. But I guess it's fair when you're making a projection. You can't, it's hard to, go over the 13 mark. I feel like he's got more than that, but I think this is one of the safer floors you're going to find out there.
This is, I think, my favorite buy of this entire group, like the whole 31 through 60. I also think the 13 home run projection is a little bit light. I think that's factoring in some of the kind of post-wrist surgery power outage that we saw from Edman. I think we're far enough removed from that surgery that I think the power comes, I say comes back, but like mid-teens power, really good stolen bases. And I think your point on the LA lineup stands. Like, even if Tommy Edman is hitting 8th or 9th, you're hitting in front of
6 at-bats every game, so it's okay.
And you're hitting in front of Shohei Ohtani. Like, if you hit 9th, you're in front of Ohtani.
You're gonna get every fastball to hit, every fastball on the face,
and
you're going to score. Not wanting to walk you.
You're going to score so many runs, and I think Lane Thomas cobbles together enough playing time in the infield where he gets second or shortstop eligibility, depending on what happens with LA's roster. For all those reasons, I think Tommy Edman is someone who can chip away for sure at your stolen bases and also not hurt you too bad in the other 2 categories. And I think that hidden category runs scored could be elite for Tommy Edman, because I think the playing time is safe in that lineup.
Yeah, I don't have much else to argue there. I pumped him up at FPAS as a guy that could be the next Jerks and Profar, because his ADP was in the mid 200s in November, because there was a lot of questions going on with that. And we even said it at the time, like, his ADP is going to climb. So, like, get after it type thing. And climb it has. So I'm still totally fine with 176. Zero problems with that at all. The good thing, I should say, to not, tilt so many people around here, but his like variance of ADP since January 1st to the 21st, 148 to 216. Like, there is a wide pocket if you like him, or he could fall. And that's where it could get really, really interesting with Tommy Edman.
I just took him. We've been taking outfielders like crazy in this draft we're in. I took him in the 17th round of our 50, my last pick.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick at around 17. That's pretty solid.
And actually, you took, we'll talk about Castellanos probably. You took Castellanos 2 picks ahead of Edman.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I did. Yes, I needed power. I believe in his power more so. So
yeah.
That's my 2 cents there. All right, I'm going to throw a curveball here to the format since we're going through some different, maybe murkier situations here, Ryan. I'll read off every pocket of 5. You can take one guy that you like or don't like and talk about. I'll take one, and we'll do another 2, 4, 6, 8 more players through here. Basically the same way, but we'll break it up a little differently, if that makes sense. Or is that okay with you?
I can hit your curveball.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're talking 41 through 45 ADP. Got Cedeno Rafaela, Parker Meadows, Nick Castellanos, Victor Robles, Brandon Nimmo going 182 to 186. They all go right next to each other like dominoes in this range. So who is the one you want to talk about? Because, conveniently is actually part of the outline. So you're good.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I can hit your curveball. I think I saw it coming. I'm going Parker Meadows. I think Parker Meadows at a ADP of 183, projected 237, 16 homers, 22 steals. Some of this is contingent on Parker Meadows being the leadoff hitter in Detroit. I think that does happen. I think the raw speed is potentially elite. I think the power is good enough for Parker Meadows if he can stay healthy all season atop that lineup, get in the mid 600 plate appearances. I think he can go 20 plus home runs with 30 plus stolen bases. And honestly, the strikeout rate isn't terrible for Parker Meadows. Was a lot better. I mean, hell, the whole package was a lot better for Parker Meadows in the second half after he came back from a demotion to the minors in May. So for all those reasons, Parker Meadows is one of my favorite picks here of this group. So 183 ADP, tons of speed potential, good power, and I think he overhits that 237 steamer projection.
Yeah, I'm on board with everything you said. Make sure you ask Ben Tidd on the Patreon stream on Monday, because I'm not going to steal his thunder. But he texted me something about Parker Meadows today, and he has a heck of a comp. That's all I'm going to say. Let's just say he likes Parker Meadows a lot. So throw that out there on your feed. Just ask him about it when you guys are drafting to see what that is. Because, yeah, he's let's just say he's going to want to draft him in most leagues if he believes in the comp. That's all I'm going to say. It's his thunder, so I'm not stealing it. All right. For me, this is tough because when I did the outline, I have two in the next pocket, so I screwed myself on this one. But Meadows is a nice later Cruz Martian type. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's very fair. For me, I was going to go with Brandon Nimmo. And a couple things I wanted to just bring up with Brandon Nimmo. It's a guy I usually don't draft, but I've actually been looking at him more so. For a while there, it was, can he stay healthy? 3 straight years of at least 151 games, which is a plus. He even played through injuries last year. My questions were does he have real power? Back-to-back seasons of 23 and 24 homers. Stole 15 bags this last year. That's the first double-digit steal, so I'm not counting on that. But the projections have him for 18 homers. He's proven he can hit over 20 back-to-back years. You got to at least give him 20 on that, which is big. And if he somehow runs into 10 steals, that's awesome. The lineup's going to still be pretty good even without Big Meat Pete there. When you have a potential MVP candidate in Francisco Lindor, Nimmo can score a ton of runs with his OBP skills. And even when his batting average is down last year at 224, that was bad. But prior to 274, 274, 292, 280, my point being, he is a very solid batting average potential asset here. If he can get back from that 227, projections have him at 252. He's basically been better than that all but last season.
Yep.
So the projections seem just kind of wonky. His batting average, it feels like should get some more love. His power should get some more love. Steals, that's fine. I'm not going to argue the steals. But to me, this is a guy that the other thing I wanted to mention that we noticed reviewing some teams when the season ended, Ryan, Nimmo was a cog on a lot of winning teams when we did, or maybe that was the show I did with Steven. I can't remember now. I do too many shows. But there was a cog. Nimmo was on a lot of the winning teams, and especially in DCs. So that was with you. When we did recap the top DC finishing teams, Nimmo was on most of those just because he's consistently just a great floor. And I think I mentioned him because I need to get over the stigma of not wanting to draft him, basically.
Yeah, 660 plus plate appearances each of the last 3 seasons. I'm with you. I don't know why he's only projected for 18 home runs. I also would probably take the over on 252. This was a guy who, like you said, 270 plus batting average pretty much recently in his career, down to 224 last year. I think that was pretty much entirely driven by BABIP. There was not much of a change in the batted ball profile for Brandon Nimmo. So yes, I'm taking the over on the batting average. I'm taking the over on the home runs, which is 252 and 18 respectively. And once you do that, this is why I'm not super excited about Ian Happ.
Yep,
this is Ian Happ with maybe not as many bags, but hell, what if Brandon Nimmo does steal 15 more bases?
Yeah, if he somehow hits 15
and
the average gets back to normal, right. Dude, then he's scoring 100 runs. Start factoring all that in.
That's last year was 88 and 90 runs in RBI for Nimmo. Like,
there's a lot to like here. If the average comes back up, that means on base more. Like, just so many things start coming into play with his stats that he does not deserve to be in this realm. He's probably more top 30 world of outfielders when all things get said and done, if he starts putting up 5 categories like that. So
I like it. Interesting. I just bolded him on the sheet. So he's bold next to Parker Meadows and Nick Castellanos, who's also in this group. It's a nice little pocket.
Yep. It's where you can, because like the pocket right above that, there's Dominguez, who we can like, but then there's a lot of questions. Like, there's a lot of, this whole area is very interesting.
And Scott in the chat, 2 of the teams that won overalls last year had Nimmo on their teams.
Yeah, he's been a common name in reviewing winning teams, like a very common name. And it could have been because of his price tag. That could have been it. There's no doubt about that. But to me, this price tag's still not bad either. All right, 46 through 50, got Taylor Ward, Tyler O'Neill, Kerry, Bonds, Carpenter, Elliot Ramos, and Jake McCarthy. And this is another realm. Like, this 41 through 50, I could be happy with like 7 options here at least.
Yeah, I'll go steady Eddie Taylor Ward for me. I'm because I probably know you're going to go Elliot Ramos, so I won't steal.
Well, I put both of them on the outline, so I was going to take which one everyone you did.
Oh, you did? I didn't.
Yeah, I think whatever you didn't take.
Not that I do look at the outline, but
I filled it in late. I was running late today.
Yeah, that's right. No, I think Taylor Ward at 193 ADP again is that kind of stable, balanced type of hitter that is that kind of archetype in outfield right now, where you get someone who hits 250, 25 home runs, 8 to 10 steals. Like, I think that's awesome for someone who's going to hit every day in the middle of the Angels lineup. Of an Angels lineup that, if everyone's healthy, like, won't be that bad. Not to go all Prepus here. I think it could be a decent lineup. Never want to go full Prepus, but we'll go partial.
Buckle up, baby.
We'll go partial. So I think Taylor Ward, is a fine pick at 193.
Yep, love him. Love Taylor Ward. We liked him a lot last year at his ADP, bouncing back from getting hit in the head by a fastball. So I'm with you on Ward. And again, the Angels team on paper should be better. All right, again, you could make arguments for most of these guys. I'm going Elliot Ramos just to I get so many questions on Giants guys because I'm obviously a diehard fan. And Ramos had a really good year, 269, 22 homers, 6 steals in his rookie year. Slowed down towards the end, but people say that. And to me, it was a combination of he came out so hot. It was a combination of, in baseball, it's talked about all the time, they're making adjustments. So now Elliott had to adjust back to the pitchers adjusting to him. And he started to do that. And more so, and I'm just top of my head from watching games. Stats might not play this out, so I apologize. I probably should look at that, but I'm just giving you my thoughts on him. He was way more disciplined at the plate as the season went on. He was walking more because he had a streak where he was on base like so many games in a row. He wasn't lighting the world on fire because he was being more patient at the plate. He was still striking out a good amount, so that's why the stats might not justify that patience. He was almost too patient at times, probably, but that's the adjustment of a young ball player. And so what I love about what we're seeing from him last year is I think we got a guy that's going to perennially hit 20-plus home runs that maybe runs into 30 once in a while, maybe. I think it's a guy that's going to give you 70 to 80 runs in RBIs each year. Like, he's got that in him. Again, if he gets hot, depending on the lineup spot, could creep into the 100 RBI range. He's got that talent, and he's going to have a very good batting average floor because of the patience he brings to the table. So he's not going to cost you a ton there, and maybe he runs into some steals. He's projected for 7 steals. We saw 6 last year. I'm not counting on that, but I think it's a steady power, steady runs an RBI guy, really good batting average guy, and it goes back to what you said earlier, what Michael Cicchini wrote about, what James Anderson said. It is almost the identical profile and the same projection as one Colton Cowser that's going at 169, while Elliot Ramos is going at 214. So little things like that.
I like it. We have a comment in the chat. Nick Anderson says Jake McCarthy could reach 35 bags. I totally agree with that.
So then why take
every single player,
Dylan Cruz instead of Jake? Why take Dylan Cruz or Victor Robles? Take Jake McCarthy.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, the thing with McCarthy is, I think it's a platoon, and Arizona has. I don't know if he's that good of a real life baseball player. Like, I think there's definite. I mean, Arizona has sent him. It's been so bad before that he has been sent down. So I think there's a pretty low floor with Jake McCarthy, but that stolen base projection absolutely sticks out. Really, after that, there's nobody outside of Cedric Mullins and our guy, mascot Slick Willie. But yeah, baby. If you need those bags, Jake McCarthy is there, and he just needs to be just good enough to stay in the lineup to make those bags work.
Fair enough. All right, 51 through 55, the new Atlanta Brave. This ADP is about to climb, folks.
Yeah.
Jerks and Profar. You got Lourdes Gurriel, Cedric Mullins, Brendan Donovan, and Jorge Soler. A lot of olds in this range. Is the best way I'll put it. You got Profar, Gurriel, and Soler. Mullins isn't as old, but feels like he's old, and then Donovan's Donovan. But at least 3 olds in this range.
Yeah, we haven't had some olds
so far.
It's good stuff. I'm gonna pick Profar. I put him in our outline before he signed with Atlanta earlier today, and actually just wrote about on the Patreon. I'm doing a Bloom Board series where I just post the board and write up everyone in the Bloom Board. And I wrote last week about Jurickson Profar, that saying Profar will fall back in 2025 is like saying it'll be hot in Phoenix this summer. The market knows this, which is why Profar is going outside the top 200, coming off a top 40 season in 5x5 leagues last year. And then I wrote Profar could significantly regress and still be profitable at his current draft price, which probably has a free agent discount built into it as well. So that was my stance on Profar before the signing. I mean, it sounds like he could hit near the top of the order, at least while Ronald Acuna is out for Atlanta, which is going to be bonkers. So yeah, you're not getting that free agent discount that I referred to in the Patreon post is now gone. How high will Profar rise? I think we have a listener question on that, so we'll hold that. But I think Jurickson Profar can still be a top 200 pick, top maybe 180, 185, and I would still certainly consider him, especially in that Atlanta lineup.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything to add on that. He's pretty much amazing at that ADP, which will not exist much longer. I'm going to mention Cedric Mullins because digging in this draft season, first off, he is only going to be 30 this year, so he's kind of old, but not really, which is impressive because he feels like he's been playing for a while. But what we saw last year, 18 homers, 32 steals, and played 147 games, 499 plate appearances. So the plate appearances was low because I think he was pitch hitting or doing other things. Hit 234. The average has been down 2 straight years. But what I love to see, there was the power and a ton of speed. And sure, there's probably still, questions of will Mullins play every day? That's valid. Right now, they have him platooning in the outfield with Daz Cameron.
I'd like to see that happen first.
Yeah, that doesn't do it for me. That's where I wanted to bring this up. So could they bring up another prospect? Could the Orioles still make another move? Yeah, they could do all of these things. Not going to deny any of that. But if we can get back to a Cedric Mullins, who even in 500 plate appearances went 18 and 32 a few years ago, and when he had 670 plus, went 16 and 34, which is almost identical to last year, and went 30-30. Those were elite fantasy seasons. Projections have him, Steamer has him for 17-28 while hitting 244. Like, we're getting a potential 2020 type guy who we've seen go 30-30 at an ADP of 228. I'll take that gamble all day long. Like, I've been very inclined to looking at Cedric Mullins and thinking still a very good Orioles offense. If the playing time's there, which the last couple of years has been a legit question and kind of valid, it's not as big of a problem at this point in time. I'll take that for sure.
I think even if the playing time isn't fully there either, it's still like they
maximize the good playing time.
I mean, he had 500 plate appearances last year. Like that's not not nothing.
No.
I think the glove's good enough to keep him in the lineup, and agreed. Like Daz Cameron, I'll believe that when I see it. So I'm with you on Mullins. I would go Mullins over McCarthy myself. I just think the floor is a little bit higher if you're needing bags at this point in the draft. They're basically going at the same price.
Fair enough. And then 56 through 60, you got Slick Willie Castro, Alec Burleson, Jung-Hoo Lee, who was going much higher last year. God forbid he got an injury. Jesus Sanchez and George Springer. So I'll give you the floor here.
I'll go. I think I'm stealing your thunder a little bit, but I'll go George Springer. I think there's still another season in those legs for Springer. I think he still leads off for Toronto and could lead off like hitting in front of Vlad, Pete Alonso, Anthony Santander.
Pretty good.
Like that could be a ton of runs if he just needs to stay healthy and play. The batting average isn't going to be great with George Springer, but I think this is, I mean, the projection 23 homers, 15 steals. That's pretty damn good at a 244 ADP. And I don't think, like some of these other guys we're starting to talk about, I don't think there's as much of a platoon risk or anything like that. It's really just injury risk. You need George Springer to go 500 plus plate appearances to hit this, but I think if he's got one more good season, one more healthy season, I think Springer's a pretty good buy here at 244.
Yep, I have a few Springer shares already. I've been taking him a ton as like my 6th or 7th outfielder in underdogs, just because he's so cheap in the outfield position. So yeah, I like Springer quite a bit. I'm going to go with the guy that almost turned into our mascot after the great Rengifo passed last season, Jesus Sanchez. We talked about him every Fab show, it felt like, and it was pretty nice. He played pretty well. Jesus 18 home runs, 16 steals, hit 252 over 149 games. Power's always been legit. The steals was new, kind of like Nimmo, maybe this new environment. But one thing about Jesus, 12.2% barrel for the second straight year. He's had 12 or better in 3 out of 4. He had a 51% hard hit rate for the best of his. I'm not going to count his first season where he had 1 barrel in a small sample. All the X stats showed he underachieved pretty well. Still has a 50% ground ball rate. Always been a heavy ground ball guy. Like if he could ever just learn to elevate a little more, God forbid what he could do. Lineup's not great. I'm going to say that first because he's projected to hit cleanup, which pick your poison. But you look at projections from Jesus Sanchez, they got him at 22 homers, 10 steals, 255. Counting stats could be a problem because of the team, but power, like I believe in that power and maybe more if he learns to elevate the ball. And the steals could be fun because he stole 16 last year. Maybe the 10's low. Who knows? But where we're talking here, we're talking a 239 ADP. I'm all about taking a chance. He's not going to crush you an average, and it's a potential, like, literally, I don't think anybody would be that shocked. It would be a shock. But if he somehow gets closer to 30 home runs than 20 home runs, he's got that skill set in the quality of contact metrics. So I like Sanchez, and decent floor with a ton of upside if a couple things change.
Agreed. I think 90% success rate on the bags last year. That's awesome. He should keep running because why would Miami not continue to run him? Like what else are they going to do? Power looks good. I do worry about the lefty situation, similar to what I was talking about with Josh Lowe. Like even if Miami doesn't have any better option than Jesus Sanchez, I do worry in weeks where the Marlins face a couple lefties. Like Jesus Sanchez is a tough start, but everything else he said is pretty spot on. Real quick,
yes,
mascot.
Yes.
Now that my brain is starting to go from 15-team draft and hold to a 12-team OC, is the mascot Willie Castro as attractive? Like, is that ceiling there in a 12-team fab league at 234 for you to pull that trigger?
Depends on what position you're utilizing him at. Yeah, I mean, second base, yes, 100%.
Yeah,
middle infield, I can live with it. Yes. Third base, maybe, depending on where it went. Outfield, no.
Okay.
That
makes sense.
Total team build. Total team build's all that is. But that's part of why he's great to be the mascot, because when injuries happen, you're covered.
Yep.
So
the mascot will always be there for you until
he will always be there
until he gets surgery
until
and
we have a candlelight vigil at the beginning of his show.
He's not there for you anymore. Yeah. But
it's T's and P's. We'll talk later.
we send you out correctly. At least
we bid you adieu.
Yes, exactly. French word.
There you go. See, I watch TV. All right, so that's 31 through 60. Any final thoughts on this grouping before we get a few listener questions here?
I like this group even more than I thought I would when we started the show. I think I've bolded probably half these guys on my sheet because I just think the price is very, very palatable for like super high ceiling guys. Maybe like Jasson Dominguez is super high ceiling. Dylan Cruz, obviously super high ceiling. Trout, super high ceiling. But there's just a lot of safety and you're at a point where you're not totally in platoons yet. Like there's some good regulars here that are balanced. I think if you can get your 4th or 5th outfielder here and just be done with it, I know you can't do that for every single position, have it all covered by pick 200 or 225, but this is a pretty sweet pocket for me. I wouldn't mind grabbing 2 of these guys on most of my teams and wait to fill that out in outfield.
Yeah, if you wait on starting pitching, you can knock this out real easy, like real easy. But not everybody can stomach that. So to each their own is the best way I'll put that one. All right, listener questions. Here we go. I'll start with the Twitter questions. Boom Zoom says, which type of platoon outfielder would offer the better season-long roto value? The slugger profile with a low batting average, or a speedy profile with an above-average batting average?
That's a good question. What do you feel like was more available on waivers last year? Because you draft the other.
You could never find high batting average later as the season went on.
No, was that the question?
His question was the slugger with a low batting average or speedy profile
or the speedster with a high batting average?
I
Okay.
would take the speedster with the high
Okay.
batting average.
Agreed. Yep, agreed.
Because you can find streaming power. Like you could have streamed Jesus Sanchez and you'd hit 2 to 3 home runs certain weeks if it was like a 6 righty week. Like you could do that. You can't find the guys that's going to consistently help your batting average. And by the time you're streaming, your batting average is probably screwed anyways. So Thomas Travado says, why shouldn't we just wait on Taylor Ward over all of outfielders 31 through 45? I love Taylor Ward with the next guy, but there's still some pretty darn good dudes in 31 through 45.
Yeah, like I still think you can take Nimmo, Castellanos, Parker Meadows, Tommy Edman, Dominguez if you want to shoot for that ceiling. Adelise, yeah. So there's a lot of those options I really like. So Taylor Ward is one of them.
At Hardball says Robles stole 30 bases in 77 games in Seattle last year. Yep. The projection of 36 feels too low.
Yeah, I mean it's just hard to project for, like you just don't see many projections at 40 stolen bases like that. That's just it's a high number. I get it. I mean it's 29 bags. Yeah, like the second half he also hit 329 in the second half last year. So batting average asset as well. Yeah, we didn't really cover Victor Robles, but I think he can kind of shore up 2 categories pretty easily with batting average and stolen bases. I do worry about like obviously, yeah, in Seattle, we'll see
if he leads off.
So yeah, Victor Robles. I think we didn't really mention him as a target, but if you need bags, I get it.
If you want a more in-depth breakdown on Robles, Bench with Bubba Seattle Mariners preview with Corbin Young will be available on Friday, the 24th. So you can check that out. He talks about Robles, and he even tweeted about it. There's a little bit on there, and I think he wrote about him in Facts and Flukes also. I can't remember, but yeah.
Okay. Not to steal Corbin's thunder there. I did have Victor Robles' baseball forecaster box. I'm looking that up now, and I put an upside of 50 stolen bases. 5-0 on Mr. Robles. So
what page
that would be page on your hard copy book there, page 126, my friend. You can read that one later.
Bedtime reading right there.
Bedtime reading.
All right, some listener questions from the old Discord here. Our buddy Callan says, how much of an ADP jump do you expect now that Profar is in Atlanta? This is a great one. I'll let you have the floor first unless you want me to go. I don't care.
No, I'll throw out there like Profar will go from like 225 to 180, something like that, which would put him right around Tommy Edman, right behind Tommy Edman, ahead of Meadows, Castellanos, Nimmo type range.
I was going to say 170 to 180, that Lane Thomas, Edman, Rafaela range. Okay. Like, to me, he's very similar to an Edman.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm with you on that one. All right, our buddy Martin Sokolsky, who's also crushing the Substack game. Ward and Cowser have similar projections. Ward will play almost every day for the Angels, while Cowser should be platooned. How much is ADP inflated by team context in this situation?
Quite a bit. If you believe Cowser gets platooned, I'm not 100% buying that one quite yet, but it could happen. I just like the similar profile going late. And it's not just Taylor Ward, it's Elliot Ramos as well. So you have a couple other options there, and Brandon Nimmo, going quite a bit later too. So yeah.
I will be honest, when you just paired Cowser, Ward, and Ramos, I'd take Ward over both of those guys. So
over Ramos and Kauser.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I'd take Ward over them. All right. Aaron Gifts says, do you think Parker Meadows will beat his stolen base projections? He seems pretty fast. Again, projected for 22 steals. I think you said yes earlier.
I think Parker Meadows does. He hasn't been the most efficient base stealer out there, but given the small sample, that's pretty fluky. Or not fluky. It's just very noisy, I guess is the better word, when you just haven't attempted that many like Parker Meadows has throughout his career, just because he hasn't had the chance to. So yeah, I'll go the over on 22 stolen bases for Parker Meadows. Just stay healthy, man.
Kevin A says, can Robles beat batting average projections? Last 2 years, granted limited at bats, his contact percentage, hit percentage, and HCTX, his hard contact X, were all up the last 2 years. I think you actually mentioned that he's projected for 249. I think he can go higher than that. Yeah.
Yeah. Forecasters got Robles at 274. So
That's much more reasonable. Yes.
I'd probably put Robles at like 260, something like that. It was a major line drive spike, like major spike in line drive rate for Victor Robles, which could be a swing change, could just be fluky, but yeah, I would take the over on the Steamer projection, 249.
All right, the number one pick in Monday night's Beat Bloomfield draft, Sean Chard says a wide
gap. That's right. Recon here.
Yep, a wide gap between Nimmo's 2024 stats and his Steamer projections. Is it more likely he becomes close to a repeat of his numbers from last year, or more likely he is closer to a Steamer? We both think like last year. Like, we agree with the projection being too low.
Yeah. But Sean, not for you. I think Brandon Nimmo sucks. Shouldn't take him. I'll see you in the draft room Monday night.
Yeah. Bloomfield's number 2, by the way. So they'll be battling all evening long.
Yep.
Lucas Beery says, I know both of you guys are satisfied with the boring and safe, steady Eddies. Who do you see here and still think, man, he's just too boring for a pick this early?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'll say Ian Happ.
That's fair. I was going to go farther down, but I'll keep it kind of early. Boring, steady Eddie. There's not that many.
I kind of crapped on Ian Happ.
Yeah, you did. You
continue to. I don't mind him.
You mentioned his name many times. I'll go Lourdes Gurriel. I know it's not as early as 135, but I'll stick with that one. That's Lourdes for me.
I'll also say Alec Burleson. I don't know if he's boring yet.
I just drafted him once. Yeah,
he's so bad against lefties, and it kind of went downhill in the second half. I'll go Alec Burleson as a boring one who I am probably not taking, especially going right before our guy Jesus Sanchez and George Springer.
Yeah, for sure. Our buddy BP says, I have Jesus Sanchez as an NL only keeper. I'd be really happy if he gets those projected numbers. Do you guys think he'll get there? Maybe exceed them? Thanks. I think he exceeds them.
I think that's a pretty optimistic projection, but I think he can get there. I don't know about exceeding. We'll see. And those numbers are 255 batting average, 22 homers, 10 steals for the listeners out there.
Mitch says, is Soler being undervalued? Slight park upgrade for righty power, and the Angels lineup should be a bit better.
I'll let you handle that one.
233 ADP, 234 average projection, 28 homers, 1 steal. When it comes to Soler, like, again, people don't care. I do like him an underdog because he's free. And if he does pan out, it's a nice Yahtzee play. I think he's fine where he's going, but you're only drafting him if you're desperate for power. Otherwise, you want nothing to do with him. That's the way I look at him. He's strictly like, I need to go for a guy that's got the potential to hit 35 home runs if he runs into it. Like, that's what you're going for. Otherwise, there's no need. Like, if he slumps once, gets hurt once, he's a just complete dredge to your team. He doesn't do like anything else. Like, his batting average, I don't see being great. It's been 241, 250, 207, 223, 228. Like, he's not going to help you there. Yeah, it should be better in LA compared to San Francisco or Miami, but I think maybe he's even going too high, honestly. Like, he's strictly a power source for me, and I just pass over him with the other options around him.
Okay. I like Soler a little bit more. I mean, he's not a target for me, but I think the price is fine at 233. And I think if you do need power, Jorge Soler could. I mean, this was a guy who hit 36 home runs in 2023 with Miami of all teams. He could get into the 30s, and there's not many power guys going around. Like before Jorge Soler, Brendan Donovan, Cedric Mullins, Lourdes Gurriel, Profar, all those guys projected under 20. Going right after Soler is Slick Willie, Alec Burleson, Young Ho Lee. Like those guys are all projected in the mid-teens. So Soler's kind of on an island in terms of power, where if you need power, he's kind of the only option there.
And I will say, like, the reason I like him an underdog, you should love him in OBP leagues. 10% walk rate or better every year back to 2016.
Yep.
Like his lowest OBP was 316 one year. He's usually in the 330s to 360s. Like he's great for that. Cause then you can throw the power on top of it, and life can be pretty good. So
now you're cooking. Good
so
call out. Yep.
Just wanted to throw that out there in different formats. This is why when people go, "Would you love him an underdog?" Because he does this very, very well. Then our buddy Michael Cicchini, he's talking with Ben about the platoon situation. So, all right, that wraps it up, my friend. Again, I'll ask one more time. Any final thoughts before we head out of here from Position Outfield Part 2?
Oh man, hope to see everyone Monday night, 9:00 for the Beat the Bloom online championship 12-teamer. I'll be picking from the 2 spot and streaming with our good buddy Ben Tidd. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. I'm on daddy duty, so Ben Tidd's stepping in, taking care of business. I might drop in and give a few quips if I can.
I'm sure I'll see a little bit of KC Bubba, and I mean that's what I did. I was on dad duty when you were doing your stream, and there were a couple jabs in there while I could.
Yeah. So we'll have some fun there. Ben will have some cliff notes to go off of. We'll see how things go, but we'll be fun. So if you're in the Patreon, check that out. It'll be live. Then we'll also put it to the page later so you guys can watch it if you so choose.
I'll post it ahead of time on the Patreon, so there's a link out there and everything. So don't worry about it.
And again, reminder: January 24th, Friday. That is
today.
Probably the day you're listening to this. If not, too bad. The last day to sign up for this, and you've been warned multiple times for a couple of weeks. So to get in, you have to be either a free or paid Patreon member to make this happen, and you need to get after it ASAP. So last time I'll mention that. And that, folks, will wrap things up. Reminder, you can follow Ryan on Twitter at RyanBHQ, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod, on Patreon at patreon.com/Bubba Bloom. I am at BDentric, and this was Bubba and the Bloom, episode 207. Catch y'all next time.